If you love boxing, you're gonna love this.
Hello and welcome to episode 15 of the BoxNation podcast. I'm your host Dev Sani and I'm joined by a man who needs no introduction, so I'm not going to give him one. Steve, how are you?
I'm okay. Good to be back, Dev. Barry was in my seat last week. I'm glad you've disposed of her and brought me back in for this week and subsequent weeks.
Absolutely. Well, he actually said to me, Steve, that the reason you weren't in last week was because you couldn't bear to spend a single second more with me. Tell me it's not true.
Not true. Hashtag fake news.
Hashtag fake news. Well, this week we have some genuine ear candy for you all as Hall of Fame boxing promoter Frank Warren answers your questions. We look back at the best of the weekend's action from the States. Terry Flanagan would have a keen eye on what went on. I bring you another world-exclusive snippet from the Lee Selby and Josh Warrington face-off feature, and there's so much more. And I'll tell you what, I can't wait, and emphasis on the word wait, to hear what Steve Lillis is ranting about this week. Enjoy. Well, where else could we possibly begin? We're bringing you the fire right at the top of the show. Last week, we asked you on our social media pages to send in some questions for Hall of Fame boxing promoter Frank Warren with a little hashtag talk to Frank. Well, here's Steve Lillis asking the best ones, and also Frank gives us a little bit more.
Frank, first question is from Colin Cooper. He'd like to know why BoxNation doesn't show Japanese shows.
I think one of the problems is because obviously the obvious one is the time difference. The other thing is nearly all the Japanese shows don't produce what we call an international feed, so you get the Japanese commentary on it, which obviously is not be suitable for a UK TV. And a lot of their shows take place midweek. So because of the time difference, if we were showing them live, you'd be getting them during the morning, which would be no value to obviously our customers and not financially viable to us because most people are working during that time.
Mm. Lawrence Baggs would like to know, why do you no longer promote Liam Walsh?
I've got a lot of time for Liam. After his fight against Gervonta Davis, we sat down, but unfortunately we couldn't agree financial terms. So he's gone and done his own thing, and good luck to him, and I hope he does well.
Christopher Redmond, how would Lenny the Governor McLean have risen in the pro ranks? And do you have any memories of him you can share?
Well, I have lots of memories of him. He was, he was related to me to start with. How would he have fared? He wouldn't have lasted 2 seconds. He was. I didn't know any different back in those days, but he was just he was in life was a bully, and was a bully in the ring. And if he couldn't get his way with you, he would get beat. I see him get beat by, guys who had packed up boxing, like Cliff Fields beat him twice. He was a former heavyweight from Luton. He beat him twice. Another guy, one of the Paddocks, who give weight away, beat him. And all this rubbish about he had 3,000 fights. If you work that over a 10-year period, that's 300 a year. I know to my knowledge, he lost about a good 5 or 6 fights in a very short space of time. He had some wins. He beat Roy Shaw, but that was it. And it was fun at the time, but I didn't know any different. I was a kid.
Keith would like to know, how difficult will it be to get Windsor Park booked for the summer if Carl Frampton beats Nonito Donaire?
Not difficult at all. In fact, we was out there last week looking at it.
So is it?
We ain't counting our chickens because that's a tough fight. But we've got faith in Carl, but he's got a tough fight. What I like about Carl, he doesn't want any favours, does he?
He's not doing it.
His first comeback fight, first fight with us was tough, and he's going to pick another tough guy. So hopefully he comes through the fight, and we'd want to deliver to him what we said we would deliver from the beginning, which is his dream of fighting at Windsor Park. So that's what I'm doing.
How are you finding Carl to deal with? Because obviously you've had these promotional difficulties in the past.
Different class. He's just a nice guy to deal with, and hopefully he feels the same about us. We said we'd do, we've done, and vice versa.
The boxing madman would like to know, why does Frank think Terry Flanagan is so underrated in the UK?
I just think that, when he won the title, it was unfortunate how he won it because the guy had a he had a problem with his shoulder, didn't he, in the second round. That first round, Terry caught him a few good shots, and I just felt he very quickly established himself and got his measure, but unfortunately the injury stopped him, I think, from getting, he won the title, but not getting it, getting his moment of glory. And his first defence, he was a big underdog going into that fight, and he took the guy apart.
Magdaleno,
Magdaleno. He took him apart, and I thought that was one of the best performances of a British fighter that particular year. And he's been boxing with a terrible leg problem for quite a while now. And hopefully it's all settled down. So I'm sure when he gets in the ring with Hooker, he's going to be 100%. It's a tough fight for him. Hooker's Maurice Hooker's a very dangerous opponent. He's tall, he's rangy. But I think Terry stepping up in weight may suit him. I think he'll find the weight more comfortable for him, and hopefully he comes through that, and then he can go on and establish himself as being one of our best fighters.
And there's great fights for him in this country also, the world title. Catro, O'Hara
Davis. There's a stack of fights there for him.
A rash thought. So do you think there's too many belts in boxing?
Yeah, I do. I mean, there are four governing bodies. I think we could probably do with two. The reason I say that, years ago when there was only one, a lot of people got frozen out, as we all know. Some guys, like Ezra Charles, and then they waited forever before they got a shot at the title. It is what it is. But I think the best always wind up fighting the best in time, over the time. But all these sort of diamond belts and silver belts and all that, I don't get them. And some of was it a junior world title belt? I don't know what that is. The Intercontinentals are very useful because it gets guys rated. I use them a lot. It gets guys in the top 10, and it also gets them the experience of having 10 and 12 round fights very early in their careers. So, there's swings and roundabouts for it.
Phil Jocks asked, in the light of what happened last week with Canelo, should the fight with Golovkin now be allowed?
I'm sure it will be. And, what happened last week, I'm not too sure as it happened. I mean, I haven't seen the actual results of what it is. I don't know if anybody has. I certainly don't. But that fight will go ahead. No doubt.
Should it go ahead now?
Well, if he has been tested positive for drug using PEDs, if he's tested positive for it, and if the commission that he boxes under suspends him, which they should do if that's the case, then it shouldn't go ahead. Put Billy Joe Saunders in.
How is Billy Josie? He's been
good.
busy on social media.
Yeah, he's training hard. He put a nice tweet out last night about wanting to finish his career. I thought that was quite.
Well, there's been a lot of talk because he was with.
I know what that was all about, but he's a good kid, Bill, and we started off together, and I hope, as he said, we're going to finish together. I've got a lot of time for Bill. When he's at last showing what I've always felt he's capable of doing as a pro, which is good. So he's got some direction, he's got some purpose in his work, and hopefully he'll go on to bigger and better things now.
Easton V would like to know what cards have you got coming up after May 19 in Leeds?
We've got shows in June and July, and we'll be announcing those sometime this week by the looks of it.
Liam Sweeney, going back to Billy Joe again, assuming Saunders beats Murray, what is his most likely fight next?
Well, I'd like him to be in with Golovkin. That's the one I'd like to see happen. We'll see whether these guys are serious. I mean, he signed for it to fight Golovkin. Bill signed the contract. We sent it back. It never happened. I fancy Golovkin. For me, his favourite if the Canelo fight. Well, I'm sure the Canelo fight will go ahead. But he's favourite for me to win it. And if he wins it, hopefully we can make the fight. Tom Lothar says he wants to make it. We will see. Craig
Simmons, interesting question. Where is Ahmet Patterson? Will he ever box again?
He had an injury, and Martin Bowers retired him. So I don't know what's going to happen. But he's a nice lad. It's a shame. But better be safe than sorry.
Excluding Yard and Dubois, who do you believe is the most promising youngster on your books? That's from Ryan Prower.
There's a lot of them. We've got a lot of guys. I like Ryan Garner, from a kid who's only had a few fights. There's a few of them out there. I mean, I don't want to upset everyone, but there are quite a few youngsters there. I think Zelfa Barrett will come again. Leon Woodstock's there. There's a lot of kids coming through. There's Heffron. I think he's an exceptional talent. Mark Heffron's an exceptional talent. There's lots of guys. I don't want to be leaving anyone out, but we got some really good talent there.
You mentioned Zelfa. Is he going to go straight back in with Ronnie Clark?
We're told to make the rematch, and hopefully we're making it for June.
A lot of questions about Tyson Fury. Is there any latest on him maybe signing with you?
I hope that he does. We will see what happens this week. Keep you posted.
This is from Tom Little, the heavyweight. He said to ask you the question about putting him in with who he calls Danielle, referring to Daniel Dubois.
Well, we'll see whether he's got a big or a little chance of that happening. We will find out, and we'll have a look at that. I'm sure it's one that Daniel certainly wouldn't shy away from, that's for sure.
I don't really like being called Danielle either, would he?
Well, what can you say, we call him Triple D, and that's for a reason. He's dangerous, he's got dynamite, and he destroys. And that's what he is, and that's what his name says, and he's got big ambitions, and he He ain't going to let no little people get in his way.
Dan the Pillock. This will be a
Who?
simple. Dan the Pillock.
The Pillock.
The Pillock. He's
Oh,
not
Pillock,
even
sorry.
out talking boxing. Wenger in or out, Frank?
Out. Don't even ask me. Don't go there. You ruin my day. Get him out. Him and Kronk, the owner, are destroying the club.
Gotthard James, would you let any of your fighters into the World Boxing Super Series?
If it's suited, I would. It depends. It depends what, the weight divisions and who's in it. I mean, we obviously got to deal with BT, and our job is to service our dates. That comes before anything.
Liam Laverty, how do you see the future of boxing in Ireland, both north of the border and south?
It's very healthy at the moment, isn't it? I think that we're doing a good job there. I know that MTK have invested quite a bit of money in their boxers there. I think it's going from strength to strength in Ireland. We've got a great show in Belfast with Carl. I mean, the last one was fantastic, and this is a great show we've got coming up. We're really pleased to be putting that show on.
And you could be doing an even bigger show there in the summer.
Fingers crossed.
Mean Fantasista, and what makes you sign a fighter?
It's various things, really. I mean, you can see it, you get a lot of talented guys, but talent is not just the key to it. You also got dedication. And I've seen so many really good, talented fighters over the years who've been blessed with tremendous boxing abilities, but haven't made it because they've not had the discipline that you need in this sport, and that's part of it. But obviously, you've got to start off with a good basic, but have boxing basic ability. I like fighters. I mean, when I think of all the success stories over the years, hardly any of those guys were Olympians. I look at people like Hamed, I look at Bruno, I look at Nigel Benn. I don't think Steve Collins even fought in the Olympics, did he? You look at all these guys all the way through, and they all went on and won world title fights. There's a lot of them who weren't at the best. They're the guys who are more hungrier, to me it seems.
I mean, Don King used to shy from Olympians, didn't he?
Yeah, but I mean, he did. But then again, I signed a couple of Olympians. I signed one in James DeGale. Well, I really did believe we'd win a world title, which he did do. And then Frankie Gavin, it was a total bloody waste of time. Ill-disciplined, stupid. He had a God-given talent, but didn't have any discipline. So it swings and roundabouts.
Who's your biggest disappointment of all of the fighters you signed?
Probably Tony Collins. And probably everyone will say, who's Tony Collins?
Yeah, I
Tony
know,
Collins was a really good young kid. Came from Reading, from a fighting fan. He had the most natural ability of any fighter. And I remember seeing him sparring when he was about 17 with Lloyd Hunnigan, who was champion at the time. And he stood him on his head. But he had no discipline. If he'd have stuck at it and knuckled down, he could have done some really big things.
Sohail Stormer, how do you make a superstar?
If I knew that, I'd be a genius. Look, it's about working with each other. If the boxer's got faith and trust in you, and he puts that trust in you, and you put your faith and trust in him, and it's a good team, it works out. I mean, there are a number of fighters. I remember Joe Kawasaki back in sort of late 90s. I couldn't get him arrested. I mean, I had letters from Vic Wakeling at Sky, from the people at ITV saying they weren't interested in him. They didn't like him. He was boring and all this sort of stuff. And I said he'd wind up being the best out of the lot, and eventually he was. But it took a long time for that to happen. It took him about 12 years to become an overnight sensation. When he beat Jeff Lacey, a fight that he went into, contrary to what everybody says now. He went in, and I only know two people who picked him, and I was one of them. Everybody, the press, the American press, they were all going for Lacey. And Lacey at that time was going into that with a big reputation, and he absolutely destroyed him.
Miramar Hollies, who would you say was the most talented fighter ever to come out to the UK? Or 1, 2 and 3?
1, 2 and 3. Well, I'll speak about guys that I'm involved with, really. I think the most talented was Naz, but he didn't fulfil his potential. He won the world title. He beat some good fighters, and at one stage he was the best at it. He's certainly, I think, the best featherweight we've ever had in this country. Certainly my time in boxing. But again, he had that tremendous talent. He was a better boxer than people give him credit for. He could really box. He had great reflexes, but towards the end, and when his brothers got involved, he was cheating. He wasn't going to the gym. He wasn't training, doing all the things he should have been doing, and he didn't fulfil his legacy. Although, having said that, he's up there for a Hall of Fame as far as I'm concerned as a British fighter. Joe Kawasaki, undefeated, done brilliantly. Could have done better. Pulled out of a lot of fights with injuries, and he had a lot of stuff going on behind the scenes. if he'd have travelled like we asked him to travel. He said he had a phobia of flying, and whether that's the case or not, I don't know. But he didn't fly, so it caused a few problems. But at the end of the day, he's cemented his legacy as probably being the best boxer post-war in Britain.
Number 3, or?
I mean, yeah, there's people like John Conti and that, but it's funny. Back in those days, guys would win titles and they'd lose them within 2 or 3 fights. They'd have an easy defence, then what the man
He
trying
lost
to
to
get beat.
Parloff, didn't he?
Yeah, and a few of them done that. I think they were much more. Some of these guys went on, defended their titles quite a few times and done much better, I think, than those guys. I'm not saying they were better boxers. For me, there were some great fighters. Some fantastic fighters around in those days.
Whitehall Fitness. Would you ever go back to promoting midweek boxing?
The problem you got with that now is there's so much football on with Champions League, FA Cup replay. You don't get it doesn't happen now. When we used to do the midweek boxing, all you had was the European Cup and the European Cup Winners' Cup. It wasn't a league or anything. It was just a straightforward knockout competition. Now, there's just so much football. And now they're talking about doing Premiership games nearly every night of the week.
Exactly.
So you don't want to be going head-to-head with soccer, football.
Jewel 1990, what 3 fights would you love to make this year?
I'd like to make Billy Joe Saunders against Golovkin or Canelo. I'd like to make Tyson Fury against AJ. Be a great fight. I hear his contract's expiring soon, so it's be interesting to see what he's going to do. And I'd like to see Terry Flanagan in a really big fight. I mean, there's numerous fights there, but I'd like to see him in with a big one. He wants to fight Lomachenko, who I think is the best fighter out there. But he wants to fight him. He genuinely wants to fight him.
He's got a title at £140 if he beats Hooker.
Exactly. So we will see.
Makes it easier to make than a Luke Campbell
Makes it
one.
easy to make, but it's a bloody tough fight. That's
So they're talking Lomachenko, Luke Campbell, aren't they?
Yeah, and then we've got the winner of Josh Warrington and Selby against Carl. They're good fights. There's some great fights there that we're doing our best to make.
Do you think you got Joshua and Fury?
I think they're fights that can be made. Why shouldn't they be made? I mean, all these guys, all they're interested in doing is making as much money as they can for the fight. So it's there to be done. Why not? And it's what's the worst thing that happens? You can sit down. You're either going to make it or you're not going to make it. But you haven't got We haven't all got to play to Eddie Hearn's tune. We haven't all got to dance to that. At the moment, he's got a contract with Anthony Joshua. Anthony Joshua, I know, is his own man. At the end of the day, he'll make a decision what he wants to do. But they're good fights that can be made. Wilder's there, isn't he? They're good fights to be made. He should be ducking them. He should be making them.
Heartboy 67. Has Frank ever boxed himself, schoolboy or anything?
No, never done any of it.
You're not claiming you had some fights in Essex?
I never had a licence. I don't make out I had an amateur licence. I didn't, or boxed at. Was it Billy Ricky or was it Billy Ricky Dickey? Yeah, I don't know how that nose. I don't know how he gets in the door with that long nose of his. I never had an amateur card. I've never done any. But I had a few fights when I was a kid, but they weren't in the ring. But my family, they all families fought, and a couple of professional fighters. But I never had the discipline. When I was younger.
Too busy running with the Arsenal fans.
I used to be. I mean, when we was kids, we used to be over the old North Bank. We used to go there with the kids. Yeah, kids used to hang about in Angel and Highbury. I remember Johnny Hoy, Vicky Pooley, all those kids. We still get about together.
Leon Knight, 1988. Could Daniel Dubois versus Joe Joyce happen?
It's a good fight. Why shouldn't it happen? I'm sure down the line that's a good fight to happen. And don't forget Nathan Gorman.
Yeah, you do bang his drum, people.
Everybody overlooks him. I mean, I think Ricky's done a great job with him, and he's a tough sod.
Dubois Gorman, that's
a big fight. Not yet. It's one you build. You build it into being a big fight, make it a good payday for them both.
Is that because they fought on the same card the other week? Are they going to go that sort of route and then people?
When we can, we'll put them together. Let people draw the comparisons.
And finally, back of the sofa, in Frank's opinion, looking at it objectively, does Britain have a genuine world champion, i.e. best in their weight division right now?
Billy Joe Saunders. And I mean that. I think Billy Joe Saunders, obviously Golovkin's there, and I think Billy Joe Saunders has the beating of both of those. Now I do. After the Lemieux fight, after Willie Monroe, training hard and working, I think he, providing they will box him, can be up there being one of our top fighters. I really do believe that.
Just Billy Joe Saunders then?
No, I think also Tyson Fury gets his licence back. Listen, he unified the titles. He was the undefeated champion. He's the guy they've all got to beat. He's the linear champion. So if he gets himself back into contention again, Without a doubt. I mean, you know, when you look at the two fights, you look at Anthony Joshua's fight against Klitschko, which was a really entertaining fight. You look at Tyson's fight with him, he took him to school.
Any update on Liam Smith and his fight with WBO Super Welterweight Champion Saddam Ali?
Yeah, we've agreed terms with Golden Boy, so the fight's going to go on sometime in May. Looks like it's going to be New York. We're just late for them to confirm the date, but it's all done, and hopefully he can reclaim his title. It's a fight that I think he can win. He's had good grounding. He never turns down anybody, Liam, and if he comes through that, hopefully we can get him some good defences here in the UK.
Any updates on any of your other fighters going into big fights?
We've got quite a few that we're working on at the moment, and I'll let you know in due course.
Any that might surprise us that you could?
No, not really. Well, there'll be a few surprises. There always is, isn't there? But until they're done, I don't want to talk about them, because what normally happens then, they don't happen and you look a bit stupid.
Scott Quigg at the weekend, losing effort against Oscar Valdez for the WBO featherweight title, but not making weight, missing it by nearly 3 pounds.
Yeah, I'm surprised at him because he's normally quite a consummate professional, isn't he, Scott? And I like him. It was a good fight to watch. I mean, it's an excellent fight to watch. But I'm disturbed about the sauna business. What's all that about? I mean, that's a complete no-no. I don't understand that.
Yeah, Freddie Roach has said that he
put him in the sauna. That's why I've seen that. And if that happened, I'm sure it did if he said it. You know, how did it happen? And what's, you know, his promoter was out there with him, who was also involved with Lee Purdy, putting him in the sauna. His dad said he was sitting in the sauna with him. He tweeted it. And I think subsequently the board fined him a considerable amount of money for that, because that is terrible. It's not allowed. You know, boxing's a dangerous business. We've seen the unfortunate tragedy with Scott Westgarth. Putting guys in saunas and dehydrating them is crazy stuff. And if I can't see how anybody, his connection, did not know that was happening. You know, if he was in a sauna, somebody must have told him. If that was my fighter, and you know, why don't I know he wasn't in the sauna? So somebody should ask that question of Eddie Hearn as he was out there. Because the last time his dad was sitting in the sauna with Lee Purdy, who failed to make the weight in previous fights. So it's very worrying.
Where do you think these weight problems have come, particularly over the last few years? They've seen more than ever with boxers.
I don't know what it is.
Not just missing weight, but they're missing by 3, 4
yeah,
pounds.
I mean,
there was one by 5 pound, Luis Neri, a couple of weeks ago in Japan.
I know, I don't get it, and I don't understand that, and it's not right. And it's, you know, I know there's compensation, you know, money's deducted from boxers' purses and so forth. But you know, the truth of it all is that's not fair on the guy who has made the weight. You know, and if they'd have both made the weight, would it have been an easier fight for Valdez? Because at the end of the day, he wasn't fighting a guy at his weight, was he? He was fighting a guy
and he's got a broken jaw.
Yeah, and he's got a broken jaw, as you say. So it's not fair to him. It's too much of it, and something needs to be done about it. It's not right.
Well, Steve, a lot of nuggets of information there, but one bit that I'm going to pick up on is it sounds like Liam Smith and Saddam Ali is a go. Sounds like terms are agreed.
Liam isn't frightened of going abroad. Very happy to go to New York, it seems. I remember speaking to him a few weeks ago, and just in passing, I said, "Oh, where do you want?" He said, "I'm not bothered. I'll go to America." He's one of those sort of guys. He went to Fort Canelo there,
Texas,
in
yeah.
Dallas. 50-odd thousand people. He handled that so well that week. It won't hold no fears for him. There won't be a question of him melting on the night. The only thing, they are so well matched. You worry, could it be? It could be a sort of fight where the man in the hometown gets it. That's my only fear. But all credit to Liam. It's a winnable fight. I just hope the judges are fair in New York for him.
Well, Steve, maybe I'm too much team beefy here, but I'm looking at this as Saddam Ali had a lot of his career was spent at welterweight. At welterweight, he got knocked out by someone who isn't a big puncher in Jesse Vargas. He's now stepping up to light middleweight. He won the belt against Cotto. Cotto, perhaps a faded Miguel Cotto. Liam Smith, bigger guy. Surely it's there for him.
Yeah, it's there for him to win. He can win the fight. I'm not saying, not for a second, because I doubt he could not win the fight. And of course, he is naturally bigger than Saddam Ali, who, you know, let's be fair, I'm not going to say he got lucky against Cotto. It was right place, right time.
Yeah.
Nothing wrong with that at all. It happens in boxing. It's called great matchmaking.
Yeah.
That could easily have been Liam Williams.
Sure.
Or Liam Smith in that situation had their eliminator had gone certain way, you know, so he was in the right time, right place. Good luck to him, and Golden Boy have got him hometown advantage. He comes from Brooklyn. He used to be managed by a very good friend of mine, actually, out there, Anthony Catanzaro, who looks after Paulie Malignaggi. Look, he's got his hometown advantage. Frank most probably could have made an offer to bring the fight there, but it would have taken a lot of money not too much for beefy. And if you go to post bids, I think it's 80-20. So it's a no-brainer really to go to America. And it's only on the East Coast where it's not like it's an 8-hour time difference, 5-hour time difference. It'll settle well. I think we should go out there, Dev. Yeah. I'm going to ring up Mrs. Sarney and get you a pass out.
Please, just get me out of the house, Steve. Now, the last time a Frank Warren fighter fought on a Golden Boy show, we know what happened, don't we, Steve? Billy Joe Saunders looked over to the crowd. Lemieux was missing punches all night. What a great night that was for British boxing. We might see the same again.
Oh, wouldn't that be good if we saw the same again? And I still can't. We talk about Billy Joe Lemieux every week, and you can't get bored of talking about it or watching that great little viral clip that you put out that's got millions of hits of him, hitting fresh air and Billy Joe looking at block WW row ZZZ seat 57. It's an image that'll live with you for life. And you can never get sick of talking about the Lemieux fight, can you, eh? Every week we mention it, and every week I'm going to go and have a look tonight and watch him punch in air again, and Billy Joe looking into the crowd. Hey, look, Liam Smith, it's a very winnable fight from him. It just worries me. A close fight could, what could happen, how it could go against him. Frank seems confident the fight's going to take place, and it's now down to Golden Boy to announce. They're the promoters. It's their fight to announce. Come on, Oscar. Give us the fight and the date. We can book our flights.
Well, keep an eye on our social media, on the BoxNation, the Frank Warren pages, as more news I'm sure will emerge on that fight and the date and the show in general. Now, on BoxNation last weekend, one of the best fighters in the world, Mikey Garcia, was in action. He defeated the previously undefeated Russian Sergey Lipinets over 12 hard-fought rounds. In the process, he became the IBF World Super Lightweight Champion and picked up a world title in his 4th weight division. Jim Gray asked him how it felt to become a 4-weight world champion.
Winning this 4th world title in 4th division is an honor. Get to be mentioned with the likes of Manny Pacquiao, Juan Marquez. It's just a huge accomplishment, a huge honor for me. I'm very grateful for everything that's happening to me right now. I'm just very excited, very emotional right now.
To be a part of the history of the sport, what does that mean to you?
Well, I just leave a little piece, a little chapter in boxing, with my name, with my brother, with my dad. We leave a chapter in boxing. I think people will remember our name, the Garcia family, for ages to come.
You fought tonight a brilliant tactical fight against a man who was a very difficult opponent. How would you assess his abilities and what you were able to accomplish against a very tough guy?
He came in exactly as I expected. Very tough, very determined, very hungry, strong fighter. And we had to work with angles, footwork, behind the jab, because we knew he was going to be there for a long night. We knew he was very determined, and he's very dangerous with that overhand right and those left hooks. So we had to be very careful, but we had a great game plan. We were able to prevail.
What would you like to do now? Robert Easter is here in the crowd. Would you like to go back and unify at 135? You talked to us yesterday about 147, perhaps Garcia versus Garcia, as in Danny Garcia, go up to 147. Will you chase a 5th title in a 5th weight division?
Look, all that you mentioned is exactly what I love the most, that I have all these options. I can come down to 35, unify the titles, which is what I would really, really love to do. Then I would move up to 140, unify those titles, and then possibly go to 47 after that. So 2 or 3 more fights, you're going to see me at welterweight for sure.
Well, Steve, it wasn't a completely easy night's work, but Garcia was impressive again and becomes a 4-weight world champion.
Yeah, look, it's fantastic. He's a fantastic fighter, 4-weight world champion, but I don't want to sound negative because he is a brilliant fighter. He's so patient when he boxes and suddenly seems to burst to life when he knows it's the right time. And I look back at his career so far, and there's still a long way to go in it. And you wonder where he might have been now had he not had his contractual dispute with Top Rank and he had 2.5 years out. He could have been a lot further up the food chain. He's a fantastic fighter. But you know what? This 4-weight world champion, it's all a bit too easy to become these 4-weight world champions in this current era. I remember I read something on Facebook that prompted me to think this morning. I forget who it was. Someone was posted on Facebook about Alexis Aguelo when he did that feat and the big celebration there was in boxing. It's no longer some super achievement the way guys jump around weights to suit them and jump back. Like I'm sure Mikey Garcia has a great future, 140 pound. But if a lucrative fight at 135 was there against Lomachenko, and it could be made, he'd jump back down.
I think that's what he said as well.
You know, I just, you know, but look, let's not take it away from his achievements. And what we've got is a very, very good fighter.
I think Broner's a full-weight world champion as well,
Look,
isn't
Broner
he? That's the example of
you know.
It feels like that's the example of where it perhaps is a little bit.
No, let's not take nothing away from Mikey Garcia. A very, very good fighter, and I'm not saying it would be a great in any era, but it must sort of be a world champion or at least fighting the very best in most eras. I really enjoy watching him. As I say, it's the patience he's got, which I love to see.
Yeah. Well, let's talk about his options there. He mentioned a few things there, but he said the most likely thing is to go back down to lightweight and seek unification with a Jorge Linares type. What would you like to see him do? Go up, go back down? He mentioned welterweight as well. I mean, what does Steve Lillis want from Mikey Garcia?
He's certainly not big enough to go up to. Well, I don't think he can go up to welterweight right now. I mean, look, give him a you know, as he gets a bit older, a bit bigger, around 140. Hey, why not Terry Flanagan, the winner? Flanagan is desperate for a big fight.
Yeah.
Here's a chance to unify a couple of the titles in the 140-pound division. Especially, you know, obviously Flanagan's got a hard fight against Maurice Hooker. Look, the Linares fight seems out the window for now because of the Lomachenko, and I will predict Lomachenko plays with Linares. And of course, if Lomachenko wins that, perhaps the biggest fight for him would be to go back down to lightweight and have the fight against Lomachenko.
Yeah, that does feel like a big one. And as you mentioned, there's a lot of rumours about Linares and Lomachenko now.
Well, it seems that fight's going to happen May 12, it seems, though we're waiting for official confirmation. Your problem you got with Garcia and Lomachenko is working with Top Rank again. Because it led that he's it was so bitter his dispute with them. It led to a long layoff for the ring. So can they get in bed together? But hey, this is boxing. Who was your enemy one morning can be your best friend the next day if it suits.
Well, this is boxing, and you mentioned about he's not big enough for welterweight.
No, I think he can grow into the weight.
Yeah.
Hey, it's been smaller. Look, Broner's gone up to.
Well, that's just it. Yeah, and it feels like it would be for the right fight. You look at someone like Errol Spence. No,
Thurman's
he's too
a
big.
giant compared to him. I'm not. He'd just be going into welterweight just to try and become a 5-weight world champion and to fight him because that's a marquee fight. I'm not saying go, eventually become a welterweight and win fights at welterweight, but not at the moment. Find a weight you can dominate. Go back down to lightweight and dominate that division for 18 months, or stay at 140 pound and take on all comers for 2 years, and then show you're the king at 140 pounds, and have the welterweights calling you out. Because if he went and unified,
come on, Steve,
titles at 140, Spence, Thurman, they'd all be on their knees begging, Mikey, you've got 4 belts, come up and fight the big boys. And then go up and fight them. But don't just jump up now just to do a weight that suits you. Have a think where you want to be and go and clean up that division if you want to be destined for greatness.
And that last minute there is why we love Steve Lillis on the BoxNation podcast. One thing I'll mention there is Ivan Baranchik absolutely battered Petr Petrov the night before, an 8-round stoppage. Petr Petrov isn't just the sort of guy that gets knocked out, by the way. And that was an IBF eliminator, so he could be put on Mikey Garcia.
And of course, if you go to mandatory, IBF, WBO, they're the 2 organisations. You can't slip your mandatory.
Yeah, they don't mess about.
They don't mess around. So if he goes number 1, that's it. But we'll say great a win as it was. Petr Petrov took that fight very, very late notice.
Oh, okay.
I think it was only about 10 days notice. I don't know whether he had anything coming up, but he certainly accepted that fight at short notice.
Okay, well, the 140-pound picture is really starting to take shape now. On the undercard of the Mikey Garcia fight, Belarus boxer and former Ricky Hatton-trained Kerrol Relic beat Rancis Barthélemy in their rematch and picked up the WBA 140-pound title. Jose Ramirez and Amir Imam battle it out for the WBC next weekend, and of course, as we know, the WBO title will be on the line when Terry Flanagan faces off with the undefeated American Maurice Hooker, April 14th at the O2 Arena. Steve Lillis caught up with Turbo at a media workout last week.
Terry, you was a great success at lightweight. How big a success are you going to be at the 140-pound division?
Even bigger. I mean, I feel great at the minute in the gym, and everything's going well, so hopefully I can show that April 14th.
When you look back on your lightweight career,
What would you give yourself out of 10 for it, given that the big fights avoided you?
Obviously, for what he achieved a lot more than I thought I ever would. So, yeah, it's got to be up there. But not getting that unification fight at lightweight is a bit disappointing. But hopefully, at this new weight now, I can win this world title and then we can make massive unification fights.
When you see people on social media have a go at you for not getting the unification fights and saying you don't fight anybody, how does that make you feel?
And I don't really look at it. People are always going to slag you off no matter what. They do it with the best of the best, say that, this and that. But yeah, I'm easy, mate. Whatever fights get put in front of me, I've always stepped up and won. And I've wanted them big fights. I know deep down, them big fights would have come, would have took them, and would have won them. So yeah, I don't really look into it too much.
Maurice Hooker, what sort of threat does he pose to you?
He's tall, rangy, awkward, isn't he? So obviously he's a threat. He's a world level fighter. He's unbeaten. Can punch. So yeah, he is a threat, but he's a threat that I'm up for, and I think I'll deal with on the night.
He doesn't seem too complimentary about you. When I spoke to him the other week, he said he's just going to punch you in the mouth all night. Did you hear him say that?
Yeah, them is American, isn't it? That's what they like. They like to talk the talk. Like I say, I do my talking in the ring, and I've not failed yet. So we'll see once that bell goes. See how confident he is then.
How will you react when he comes over to Britain for the press conference and he starts all that with you? Do you never feel like losing with him then?
I never, mate. I'm easy. I just stay chilled, calm, and come the 14th on the night when we're in there, I'll be the calmest one in the arena.
You're unbeaten in 33 fights, won a lot of them. How proud are you with that unbeaten record, having 9 years of professional, no one come close to beating you?
Not really, Steve, to be honest. It's just one of them. I don't really think about it. I'll probably look back on my career when I'm finishing, think, yeah, I actually done well, but at the minute I'm always striving to achieve more.
Yeah, but it's the longest unbeaten run in British boxing. That does give you some pride.
Yeah, it does, but it's what it is. I'm looking to add to it so no one catches it. I mean, what did Kawasaki finish?
46-0.
Yeah, I'll go for 47. I'll be happy then.
You retire at 47-0?
Yeah, that'll be my last one. That.
And as well as at world level, there's domestic fighters who want a piece of the action with you. There's Jack Cattrall, of course, who hasn't been shy in putting his name forward. And O'Hara Davis says he's the name that you all need.
Yeah, well, for sure, there with Frank now. Sure, Frank will make them fights, but I'm looking past him. I'm looking for likes of Garcia and that when he wins that title and I win mine. It's a massive unification fight, and I hope they're the fights Frank can make.
And is Linares still the biggest one out there for you?
Yeah, Linares is a fight that I've watched for years. I mean, I see him as, everyone sees him as the best at lightweight, but I think I've just got his number. Yeah, my style, like high pressure, high work rate, angles, speed, power, I think it's trouble.
Well, back to £140. Regis Prograis. And actually, I've corrected my pronunciation. It's actually Prograis. I was calling him Prograis last week and having all sorts of fun with Barry Jones. Are you happy with the progress of Prograis and all of that sort of stuff? But I've since heard it pronounced as Prograis, as in like you're supportive of the colour grey. But anyway, the American Prograis is starting to gather momentum and make some noise. He knocked out former unified world champion Julius Indongo on Friday night in 2 rounds to pick up the WBC silver £140 title. It was a big statement from Prograis, who stopped the Namibian 1 round quicker than pound-for-pound star Terence Crawford. Here's what he had to say to Steve Farhood.
Regis, you said to us before you wanted to show sides of yourself that perhaps we hadn't seen on Showtime before. I think you did that, no?
No.
You had to come forward.
That second round knockout, I did that before. But, I haven't been able to show my full arsenal yet. As far as my defense, as far as my footwork, I didn't do it yet because I haven't had an opponent that can bring it out of me,
So stop scoring such quick knockouts.
I get paid the same thing for first round or 12th round, so I might as well get them out early.
You knocked him down with a jab at one point, but in the second round, all of a sudden, you two were fighting on the inside. Yep. To me, that was a sign that you were in total control because you were banging the body. Yep. And at that point, did you sense that it wasn't going to be long?
Yeah, I felt it wasn't going to be long. Like I said, I felt his punches, they didn't hurt me. And, I got a little reckless, but I know I can walk him down, and that was it. I mean, this dude is a This dude is a former 2-time world champion, and I got him. And Terrence Crawford knocked him out in the third. I got him out in the second. I had to come make a statement. The 140-pound division is mine. It's nobody that can mess with me. They know that. I know Miramon and Ramirez is fighting next week for the official belt. It should be mine. I got this belt. It's cool though. But these dudes not gonna fight me. Postal, I know why you didn't fight me now. You see why you didn't fight me.
Steve, it took Terence Crawford 3 rounds to KO Indongo. Prograis just did it in 2. Big statement.
Yeah, maybe look, he was softened up by Crawford. It is only a round, so we're picking at column inches here. But you know what? He's KO'd 14 of his last 15, and Lou DiBella has been banging on about this kid. He's got 140 pound. He's the future of the division for some time. And Amir Imam, Don King's man, comes up against Bob Arum's man, Jose Ramirez, this weekend for the vacant WBC belt. As a fight as this division cleans itself up, so we say, to get champions, 4 champions, and the winner will not fancy facing Prograis, I can tell you that much.
Looks a talent, doesn't he? And I think he's 29, so he's a little bit older than what I thought. When you talk about a young talent, but he's come along very well. 21-0 now, 18 knockouts. Yeah,
he's 29 and he's there. He's going to fight. I mean, and I'm sure. I know the WBC can be picky with mandatories, but I'm sure Lou DiBella and the power he's got will be pushing for him to fight the winner. And it'd be interesting to see if Ramirez wins, because I think Top Rank would want to, I don't want to say protect him, but on the American West Coast, in Fresno, where he comes from, and Reno, he does good numbers.
Yeah, I'd imagine he's a bit of a ticket seller. Well, obviously that knockout was fantastic, but it wasn't my favourite thing about Prograis. My favourite thing was the big old mask he was wearing, this Rougarou mask, I think they call it. It's like a werewolf.
Yeah, he comes into the ring with this mask. It looks fantastic, doesn't it? It's one of the best ring entrances since the guy we had on BoxNation. And his name's escaping me, African guy who lived in Las Vegas. And it's gone from me, who come into the ring in the cage.
No,
the name's gone. Look,
Yeah, he's coming to the ring.
You can't know everything. That was pretty impressive. That ran him a close second.
They should all be wearing things like this for me. I mean, it just adds something to it. He's got the face of like a mythical creature over him as he comes to the ring. How menacing is that when you're the opponent and you look across and you just see a mask?
What would you come to the ring dressed in?
Probably a turban.
Roman gladiator.
Yeah. Now let's drop down to the featherweight division, one of the most competitive divisions in world boxing at the moment, and without any tournament required, the best fighters seem to be fighting the best fighters. This weekend just gone, Scott Quigg travelled over to California to take on WBO world champion Oscar Valdez. It was a game effort from Quigg, who lost a unanimous decision to the Mexican-American, but a bitter taste was left in the mouths of many stateside as Quigg weighed in nearly 3 pounds overweight and then refused a same-day weigh-in from the Valdez camp. The Berry man enjoyed a near 7 pounds weight advantage on the night. Now, Steve, I know you've got a separate gripe on fighters coming in overweight, and we'll come to that, but what did you make of Valdez Quigg?
Fantastic fight, and you know what, you made a great point there when you teed up the intro there for this segment of the podcast, Dev, where no tournament needed in this featherweight division. The best are fighting the best. We've got Frampton Donaire coming up, which is in a world title in all but name. And you've had that great fight between Quigg and Valdez so far this year. Apart from Wilder and Ortiz for its drama, it's the best fight of the year so far. Absolute fantastic fight. What I will say with Oscar Valdez is I don't think he's going to last too long, because he's in a procession of wars. I think that's 3 or 4 on the spin now.
It's like Genesis fight.
I'm just enjoying watching him because he's a license to thrill. He really, really is. And obviously Carl Frampton's got to come through Nonito Donaire. Yeah. But wow, imagine Frampton versus Valdez in Belfast. What a fight that would be. That is now my dream featherweight fight at 9
really?
stone.
I mean, they do all seem to be fighting each other, as you mentioned. So you got Abner Mares and Santa Cruz. They've already fought once, but they look set to have a rematch, which seems to have been on delay for ages.
That's right, they're having the rematch. And that's why, I mean, if Santa Cruz Frampton 3 doesn't happen, Valdez is the fight I'd love to see. But there seems little hope of Santa Cruz Frampton happening from what I hear and read. But what if that's the fight I would love to see, Valdez and Frampton. That would be a fight of a generation. It would just it would be a war of a generation.
Stylistically,
they couldn't foul that fight. But Valdez is just in good fights. We've seen him on BoxNation plenty of times. I love watching him. For Scott Quigg now, he's got to sort of redeem himself with obviously the weight issue. I'm not sure whether his defence has improved going to Freddie Roach's gym. Joe Gallagher has his critics, as we know. There's a lot of envy of Joe Gallagher. I think he's a good trainer. I think it's envy of the fighters he's had. That's boxing. I think he was a better fighter under Joe. But look, Scott is still in there for big fights. His performance the other night, there'll still be fighters there who will want to face Scott Quigg. Albeit, people will see him as the opponent in America, but he's a name. And he's sort of fighter you could see Santa Cruz or Abnomar as the winner of that wanting. He's still going to be in a couple big fights, and he'll have a chance to, win a world title at another weight.
And also within that sort of top 10 of the division, there's Gary Russell Jr., who's the WBC champ, and it seems like he's going to be fighting Jojo Diaz for that WBC belt. Any kind of thoughts on that one?
He beats Diaz.
Yeah, he's got super quick hands.
We're seeing all these fighters. Frampton's got active. We want to see all these fighters. It's fantastic, as you say. It doesn't need a tournament to make this division fantastic. Want to see Russell active because he's got the style to give. We know he got that loss to Lomachenko. But he's got the style to. He's very quick to give them all kittens. I think he needs to be active. He can't just go and fight once every 18 months when it suits him.
No, it is unreal. His activity is unreal. And of course, there's May the 19th. In the featherweight division, Lee Selby versus Josh Warrington, IBF World Featherweight title. How exciting, Steve Lillis.
Look, as I said earlier in the show, people love Brino. We talked about Flanagan, his domestic rival. It's a world title, but great domestic rivalry, real needle on both sides.
Yeah.
The winner of that will be teed up to fight Carl Frampton. If someone like Valdez doesn't happen, I'm sure Frampton's going to, Frank Warren in his interview earlier with me alluded to the fact that they've been to Belfast and looked out Windsor Park. So it's just a great division. Frampton Warrington, another great fight for the division. I'm going to call it, as you've given it a new name, the no tournament required division, Dev.
It is a glittering division, and on May 19th in particular, obviously we've got April the 21st, Frampton versus Donaire, but May 19th, I think I'm looking forward to even more than that, because you've got two fellas that can't stand each other. Frampton and Donaire is a beautiful fight, but they are singing off with each other, they're doing karaoke and all sorts of
I guarantee what you should do is after that fight, head to that pub, them two pubs opposite the Europa Hotel in Belfast, and I guarantee they'll have bruises and lumps and all that, but they'll both have a pint of Guinness and they'll have a singing competition.
They will. I'll tell you one thing that I'm going to try right now. When we get Donaire down here in Fight Week, I want Nonito Donaire to sing "Sweet Caroline," and I think that could break the internet. Yeah, how about it? Can you deliver that to me, Steve?
I think we should both have them having a sing-off.
Yes.
Separately, Fight Week. We'll go and see them both.
Beautiful.
At the press conference. We'll get them separately away from each other.
Yeah.
Like the auditions to the X Factor.
That's what I'm thinking, yeah. How about that?
We'll get both singing Sweet Caroline.
And could you play the Simon Cowell role?
Definitely.
Yeah.
I'll even wear Cuban heels and waist-high black trousers. And get my chest all hairy and wear a shirt with about 5 buttons undone.
Do it, Steve. We can't wait for that. Well, I've digressed a lot there because I got caught up in the idea of Carl Frampton and Nonito Donaire singing, which they have been doing a lot of. Now, I can bring you a world-exclusive snippet of the Josh Warrington Lee Selby face-off feature that will be coming out very, very soon. Here it is.
You've changed your opinion many times. What is the truth? What do you think of me as a fighter? You say I've bought all them titles. No, it's just natural progression.
No.
These things are about timing.
I don't know whether you knew it or not.
On another level, and I've just
your promoter at the time bought the titles off me in order to build you up in front of your crowd, your home fans. Otherwise, you couldn't have been boxing the Leeds Arena without a title. You bought the Commonwealth title.
Regardless of that, I won
in the beginning.
I won the world.
Built you up,
I won the Commonwealth.
ready for me to knock you off. But for some reason, the fight didn't happen then. Now it's happening.
Well, it's
May the
happening,
19th, we'll see.
It takes a good fighter to win a world title. I've always said that. I've never said that it was a bad fighter.
It takes a great fighter to keep hold of it. I've defended it 4 times. This is my 5th defence.
It is your 5th defence, but it won't be a successful one.
Well, the full feature will be out very soon. I'm very fortunate in that I have seen it all, and it's a very entertaining verbal spar. Steve, I can see you looking at me enviously.
Yeah, I was there that day when you filmed the face-off. I was doing interviews in that very room before. You threw me out, told me and our cameraman Cookie we had to go. Get out, we're coming in here to film this. So I've just seen these snippets, but I'm hoping this week, while I'm doing this podcast of you, I'm texting people, arranging a couple filming days with Josh Warrington this week. So that should be interesting, and I'll bring you back some exclusive content for next Monday's podcast, Dev.
I love exclusive content. And Steve, you know, I just gave you a bit there. Don't say I don't do nothing for you. You know, I'll bring you something every now and again. Now, that fight, May 19th, Elland Road. Tickets are available at leedsunited.com if you want to get along to what will be an unforgettable night. The atmosphere will be electric. Steve, imagine if Warrington wins this. This is his dream. You know, he's been dreaming of this since he was, you know, yay high.
A special night, and it would be because of the atmosphere that's going to be there. And if he won and caused what is a big upset, in my opinion, it would be I was there night. You remember where you were there that night, and you'll talk about it. You know, in either of them become all-time greats as featherweights or not. You remember the night Josh Warrington won his world title and what it was like. It was the nearest thing I can compare it was when Ricky Hatton beat Costa Zoo at the MEN, and it was about 3 o'clock in the morning when the fight finished. 3 in the morning, and 20,000 people going out, in sort of into Manchester city centre singing his name that time of the morning. That won't be that late. It'll still be pretty late, around midnight. That's what I imagine it will be like. It would be colossal, and the sort of Josh winning that, it would give that town such a boost. In a way, Ricky Hatton, when he come along, he had a bit of fortune, Ricky, in the sense that when he come along, Manchester City were really struggling. I think that was in the when he broke out, that was in the third tier of football. I remember they beat Gillingham at Wembley, and
they did, my guys,
and they sort of changed from then onwards. And football fans are always looking for someone to pin their hat on. And Ricky Hatton give Manchester City fans that. And that was part of his success story. Leeds United are struggling. Their playoff hopes are as good as over. So Josh Warrington's giving them a glimmer of hope that one of their own is going to become a world champion. And that is what is what is going to make it such an electric night at Elland Road.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's a good point there. I mean, I know there's been a little bit of a link between Anthony Crolla and Manchester United, but not to this sort of extent where it's like all United fans are behind him. And maybe that's because Man United are actually quite good.
The Anthony Crolla, of course, Man United have success, and their fans are global. They're a global club. Yeah. And also, Ant Crolla, it's only the last couple of years that the Man United link has come. When Ricky Hatton he's been at Man City, following them since he was a kid, played for them. Yeah. For about 8, he had a trial there, and there's been a season ticket holder throughout his teenage years onwards. Josh Warrington is a Leeds United regular. Yeah. They're seen as one of their own.
Absolutely. Now, Steve, since you walked into the studio today, I can tell there's something on your mind. You've been, at times, a little distant. You're not cracking many smiles. It seems like something is, dare I say, weighing you down. What you talking about, Lillis?
What Lillis is talking about is fighters missing weight.
Go on.
Last few years seen more examples of it than ever, almost exclusively in world title fights. In the last couple of weeks, we've had Luis Neri 5 pound over against Yamanaka in Japan, and the fight still went on, and he nearly decapitated poor Yamanaka. At the weekend, Scott Quigg, 3 pound overweight. Yeah. It's just not on. Neri, disgraceful. You got to label Quigg the same. Although what I will say with in their camps with Quigg is, I was genuinely stunned when he missed weight, because he's the most diligent trainer I know.
You keep hearing this. Everyone keeps
Freddie Roach has got and his mob have got to take some of the blame. People wax lyrical about how great Freddie Roach is. He hasn't covered himself in glory. We're there the way they've done something wrong in getting the weight off, that the lad's body's packed up. If Quigg says his body packed up, I believe him. But he still missed weight by 3 pounds. And I'll keep this short. I'll keep this simple. This is what you do with fighters who do not make weight for world title fights in future. First of all, the governing bodies, the state commissions, boxing has got to get together, because there's a serious problem and something will be the way it's going. Something won't be done until some poor sod is badly injured and hurt. We nearly saw that with Yamanaka the other week. Took a belting.
I think Neri's been banned now to fight in Japan.
He's banned for life in Japan, and the WBC are looking into it. They've all got to get together, and the rules got to be simple. You lose 50% of your purse if you don't make the weight, 30% to your opponent, 10% to the commission, 10% to charity, a local kids charity, and you do not fight for a world title for another 18 months. No questions asked, because this does boxing no good, and I don't want us to be saying, well, at least something's done when someone's been badly hurt.
Well, yeah, and it really is the talk of boxing at the moment, how safe boxing is. There's been a lot of talk about that, and, there's weight divisions for a reason, and respect it. It is kind of the message,
yeah,
right?
I'm really, really angry about this, how it's going on, because I've made a living out the sport for 27 years. Love the sport. I'm lucky to be working in it. I don't take anything for granted. But when I see fighters put at danger because someone's come out in overweight, I don't like it. Don't like it at all. Valdez broke his jaw the other night. That could have been because Scott was so much heavier. Scott was like a little, super strong bear in there.
He came in at 142 pounds.
Incredible.
Apparently. Yeah.
I think it was 6-7 pounds heavier. Was it?
Valdez was
I just don't like it. I do believe Scott Quigg, as I say, reiterate that Scott Quigg, I do believe when he says his body packed up, but I think people around him have got to look at themselves on how they brought the weight off after he injured his foot.
Yeah, and you just think a fighter perhaps not as good as Valdez would have got beaten down a little bit, especially as it wears on, because he's had to do things to make the weight.
That's right, But you know what? Valdez won the fight, the great fight, deservedly. But we don't. I'm just really scared that we're not going to have anything done until something bad happens in a ring. One of these fights that are allowed to go ahead. And the 5 pounder of Neri the other week in Japan
Shocking.
was
Disgraceful.
absolutely abysmal. And you know what? And also, Frank Espinosa, the manager of Oscar Valdez, was screaming afterwards about Quigg refused the weigh-in. Well, himself and Top Rank should have sat down with Eddie Hearn after the weigh-in and Quigg's management team and said there's got to be a second weigh-in. They shouldn't be bleating about that afterwards. That could have been sorted out before.
Good rant, Steve Lillis. Good rant. We are a 24/7 boxing channel, and here's what's coming up on BoxNation. Friday, 5 o'clock, Italia Thunder versus the British Lionhearts. It's the World Series of Boxing, an exemplary boxing tournament. How about it, Steve?
Highest quality boxing.
God.
It's a really high quality. It's been fantastic, hasn't it? Over the years, and since we've had it on BoxNation, some of the fights we've seen and some of the names we've seen, and we were talking about earlier about Warrington against Selby. If Warrington won, it would be an I was there night. I talk about the night I was there when Lomachenko went to Yorko and Usyk was there fighting Joyce that night.
Yeah.
Fantastic tournament, and if one, it's gone around the country a bit, and if there is a WSB tournament nearby to you, actually don't watch BoxNation that night.
No,
Go along and watch it.
Steve,
Go along and watch it in the flesh if it's on your doorstep.
Steve, get out of my studio.
I'm going.
Don't watch BoxNation. Well, Friday at 8 o'clock. Bunce's Boxing Hour. It's usually on at 7 o'clock, but because of Italia Thunder against the Lionhearts, we are going to go live an hour later. So last week, he actually had the actor and director Paddy Considine on the sofa, who was talking about his new film Journeyman. Steve, were you invited to one of these screenings, which I believe a few of the others have been invited to?
No, I haven't been invited yet, and I want to get on to Paddy about that. I was invited to go into the film as an extra for a day.
Oh, really?
But it was a Friday that I couldn't make it. I think you'd already sent me somewhere filming that day. Get out with that camera and do that. So my chances of being, getting the picture, coming through, impressing a few Hollywood directors were banished by Sani. I think you'd sent me somewhere that day.
Well, I'm sure that opportunity will come again for someone like Steve Lillis. So that's Friday at 8 o'clock, Bunce's Boxing Hour. That will be free to air on Sky Channel 437. We'll also try to bring it to you live on Facebook as a Facebook Live. Keep an eye out for that. Sunday at 7 o'clock. Now, we look back on Bradley Skeet against Shane Singleton. That was like an angry Bradley Skeet defending his British title, getting a knockout. Remember that night, Steve?
Yeah, I was there that night. I was there that night. I expected him to win that night, but I thought Shane would take him all the way. he was pretty angry. It got a bit naughty in the weigh-in at Frank Warren's office today. I wasn't there at the weigh-in. Were you there that day?
I was actually announcing the weigh-in. I was doing the ring announcing. It was such a strange moment in my life because I'd never thought I'd be stood in the middle of Shane Singleton and Bradley Skeet, like shouting, going back and forth. Bradley Skeet, the coolest man in the room.
You'd never think you'd ever see Bradley Skeet lose his temper, would you? I mean, it's almost like rarities. You know, like you know when you see records on sale. Old vinyl, there's only 10 copies left of this Sex Pistols EMI record, and it's going for £500.
Yeah.
It's clips of Bradley Skeet losing his temper because he's the mildest mannered fella you could ever meet. He's too nice. Everyone says, oh, he's too nice.
Well, I'll tell you what, he wasn't too nice on that night, and catch that performance. It was a fantastic knockout win for Bradley Skeet, and he's got a fight coming up very soon. Actually, I think it's next month for the European title.
Put back a month. The Spanish guy got cut, and I think it's on April 24 or 25.
So it's for the EBU
European title, EBU European title.
So that's a good fight for Skeet coming up, and no doubt that will get him a good WBC ranking as well. So go to BoxNation.com to subscribe to the channel to watch it on TV. Also, if you're less of a TV person, more of a digital person, well, don't worry, because we've got you covered. Go to watch.boxnation.com and you can subscribe to the channel in HD and watch it on your tablet, watch it on your mobile, watch it on your laptop, watch it however you like. Just make sure you watch it. Now, Steve, another great show. Another great week. We've heard from Frank Warren. We've heard from Mikey Garcia. I brought you another world-exclusive snippet of the Warrington Selby face-off. Did you enjoy yourself?
I did always enjoy sitting here with you, Dev, chatting boxing, putting the world right.
Beautiful, beautiful words, and good rant as well this week.
Yeah, I'm angry about these weights. Something's got to be done because it'd be too late.
Wow, and you're looking at me like I've missed something. I have missed something. You need a Steve Willis update, don't you? You want to know what's going on, because
I know you haven't traced him down, because if you'd found him, you would have been on to me saying, Steve, here's his phone number, he's waiting your call, he wants to do this for you. So I know you've tried something, you haven't found him. Tell me you failed again, Sonny.
I've failed again. But Steve, I'm getting closer. I'm telling you, I'm getting closer.
Because you haven't spoken to him.
But I've left. So what's the latest thing that's happened, right? So he hasn't got back to me in any way, shape or form, nor have any of his mutual friends accepted my friend request. However, MC ring announcer Thomas Treiber was actually in a building with him just 2 short weeks ago, because he was doing some of the undercard of the Kovalev fight. So Thomas Treiber slid into my DMs. He was giving me we were doing a bit of mutual backslapping. He was like, hey bro, I like your profile pic. I was like, hey Tommy T, I like your profile pic too. So, we're getting on well. And he said that he's going to try and get me Steve Willis's phone number. So, I'm trusting him. So over to you, Tommy T, on that. But obviously, I've tried something else. My wife, who's been very supportive and very diligent in my quest to get Steve Willis, she's actually found him on Instagram. He's got Instagram as well.
Mrs. Well done.
Mrs. Sarni's loving it. So she's found him on Instagram. I've DM'd him on there from BoxNation. He didn't reply. But I've also commented on one of his pictures, and I can see he hasn't replied, but I can see he's active. It says like active now. He's just straight up ignoring me. He's not up for it. What am I going to do? If I don't get him next week, I'm just going to give up. That's it.
Well, you know what?
It's the final roll of a dice.
If Liam Smith's fight comes off for the dub, I am thinking of going, seriously.
That could be New York,
if he's there, I'm going to go on a busman's and enjoy the fight, but if he's there that night, I won't let him out my sight. And then Lillis went to New York to doorstep him. And what I'm going to do if I get him, I'm going to put a bill into the marketing department for my flight, and you're going to have to get them to sign it off.
Well, I can only hope and pray that we can finally, at last, one day, bring you this piece of priceless content. Please give us some love and leave us a review on iTunes. You've been, on the whole, very kind on the iTunes reviews so far, so please keep them coming. It really helps with the show's visibility. Remember to tweet us any comments at BoxNation TV, at Steve Lillis, and at Sarni Dev. Now, Steve, do you want people to follow you on Instagram as well?
If they want to. I'm not the most active on Instagram, but please follow me on Instagram. Follow me on anything.
Lillis, you're just up for it. Because some people have it as like a private profile.
No, nothing's private about me.
Yeah, you're
I'm
just
an
up for
open
it.
book, mate. You can read me.
Wow, well, give the open book Steve Lillis a follow on Instagram as Lillis Steve as well. I think you are, aren't you? Yeah. Give him a little follow on that. Give me a follow as well if you want. And remember to subscribe to the best boxing channel in the world, 24/7 boxing at BoxNation.com. Thanks for listening.